Then they sailed to the country of the Gadarenes, which is opposite Galilee. And when he stepped out on the land, there met him a certain man from the city who had demons for a long time. And he wore no clothes, nor did he live in a house, but lived in the tombs. When he saw Yahushua, he cried out, fell down before him, and with a loud voice said, "What have I to do with you, Son of the
Most High God? I beg you, do not torment me."
For he had commanded the unclean spirit to come out of the man, for it had often seized him, and he was kept under guard, bound with chains and shackles, and he broke the bonds and was driven by the demons into the wilderness. The Son of Man asked him, saying, "What is your name?" And he said,
Legion, because we are many.
In Fairfax County, car crashes and male nudity. They don't usually go together, but apparently they did during today's afternoon rush. So drivers watched a naked man ride a tow truck down Sully Road. Police say it all started when the guy collided with another driver, and then he got out and
attacked the driver, and then he took all his clothes off.
just buck naked, jumped on the truck, and eventually ran off. Police tracked him down near Dulles Airport.
Video you'll only see on 5 on Your Side.
A naked man
Wandered into the streets in front of the BP station at Choteau and 14th Street. This happened around midnight. You could see him banging on the hood of a police car. Our crews on the scene said he was yelling, "Shoot me, shoot me." And that's when one officer tased the man. He was eventually arrested and put into an ambulance.
A disturbing video out of Russia has gone viral. It reportedly shows a nanny walking around Moscow,
Clutching a child's severed head.
Russian news agencies say police initially approached the woman to check her documents. When she pulled out the child's head from a bag, she allegedly muttered references to terrorism and was arrested. Russian investigators say they don't know why the woman killed the little girl, believed to be 3 or 4 years old. The victim's body was found at a nearby apartment that had been set on fire, but media reports from Russia indicate the woman may be the little girl's nanny.
When Moselle Brown first saw the faces of the 2 men arraigned on murder charges for the deaths of her daughter, 21-year-old China Battle, and her friend, 29-year-old Chakwanda Staley, she says 20-year-old Nazir Saunders looked sorry, but 18-year-old Anthony Alexander
Appeared to smirk
as he proclaimed his innocence.
A legion is 5,000 or 6,000 soldiers. It is the army of the enemy, and people are ripping their clothes off and attacking others with superhuman strength. Meet
the Legion.
I think this is just ordinary diesel oil, Scully. I think it's a medium. A medium being used by some kind of alien creature that uses it to body jump.
I've noted an uptick in demonic possession since 2012. So let's go over some clips and we'll let you decide. Is it
Legion?
Not only did the teenager next door witness that incident, but he says the couple's young child was also in the front yard watching the beating. Police officers say this is where they found a woman lying face down next to her eyeballs Wednesday night. Juan Medina saw police respond here and learned the details about what happened today. According to an arrest affidavit, Michael Robertson is accused of ripping out that woman's eyeballs. Police say she was also stabbed in the stomach. Medina's 16-year-old neighbor told us he tried to intervene yesterday and stayed home from school today, trying to forget what he saw. The suspect
sitting on top of the woman, using only his hands to destroy her face.
That teen too traumatized to do an interview today.
Well, new information tonight in the investigation into a suspected murder-suicide involving a family
in Salem County.
Authorities are revealing how they died this evening. And Action News reporter George Solis joins us live from Penns Grove with the update from police. George.
Yeah, Rick, certainly a tragic case. There's now a
small memorial that has been building
outside of the family's home. There's anger here, there is sadness, and a question of whether or not this tragedy could have been prevented. more than 24 hours after the shocking news of a mother and her children found dead inside their Penns Grove apartment. Police Chief Patrick Riley was back on the scene Thursday with a chilling update in the case of what appears to be a murder-suicide.
Ruth Reyes Servino and the two children, juveniles, ages 4 and 2, all ruled homicide by multiple stab wounds.
Family identifying the children as Yurani and Yure. Authorities identifying Reyes' husband and father of the children as 54-year-old Eugenio Severino. His death ruled a suicide after being found in a wooded area not far from the apartment.
The adult male was ruled a death by hanging in Carney's Point.
The news impacted me. It's horrific. 2 children. That age, his children, his wife, he said. Other family members who spoke off camera describing a tumultuous relationship between the couple. Some close neighbors also echoing those sentiments.
I knew she was having problems, as she has said it.
One relative telling Action News that in recent weeks, Reyes began receiving death threats from Severino
and filed a restraining order against him back on January 16th.
Unfortunately, we did not have any warning signs.
Yes, because a piece of paper won't stop someone from killing you if they want to. Comment your thoughts below.
Did not have any warning signs.
A memorial outside the home was started by some of Reyes' co-workers from the nearby restaurant La Cuchara.
Held without bail, the mother and her 19-year-old daughter, accused of murdering their family members, are staying behind bars today. They've allegedly confessed to their crime, saying everyone,
even the 3 children, wanted to die.
The big story on Action News is the new details that we are learning about the 5 people murdered in Morrisville, Bucks County.
We'll begin now with Walter Perez.
And he's live at the district attorney's office in Doylestown. And Walter, this case is rattling investigators.
No doubt about it, Shari and Brian. Authorities say it'll be weeks before they can determine exactly how the victims were killed in this case. Investigators
say it seems at least 2 of them were strangled.
But at this point, they simply don't know. Authorities say 45-year-old Shanna Decree and her 19-year-old daughter, Dominique, have confessed to the horrific murders of 5 members of their own family. Morrisville Police Chief George McClay says these are the kinds of cases that haunt police officers.
It's a sad day for us. As much as I've seen over my career, this is the saddest case I've ever had.
It was yesterday afternoon when police got the call from a social worker who went to the Decree family apartment on West Bridge Street to see how they were doing. The caseworker reported that the suspects seemed disoriented. Investigators quickly arrived to find the remains of the 5 dead victims in another room.
The youngest were 13 years old and 9-year-old twins.
During questioning, not only did the suspects reportedly say they wanted to be dead, they also said the victims wanted to die as well.
2 9-year-olds can't make that decision, and a 13-year-old. So I think that's, is that something in the adults' minds? I don't know, but it's surely not in 9-year-old minds.
The Lynbrook man today admitted to killing his girlfriend's mother. Ralph Kepler pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. Prosecutors say the former Rikers Island guard used a barbell to repeatedly strike Teresa Keel in the head outside the victim's home in 2016. The attack was allegedly over a business dispute. Keel was in a vegetative state for 2 years before she died. Her daughter, who was dating Kepler, has also been charged.
Desk with a disturbing report out of Berkeley. Now the Unified School District is pausing all online instruction after a man apparently busted into an online classroom that was doing some activity on the website Zoom, exposed himself and started yelling obscenities. This happened on Tuesday, and in a statement included in a letter to parents, the superintendent wrote in part, "What is especially troubling about this incident is that it appears that the teacher followed all current guidance about security precautions in Zoom. Still, the intruder obtained the credentials for the meeting and was able to gain access to the session. It is simply unacceptable to ignore a risk of this significance." The superintendent said the police were notified about this. Police have not yet said if they've made an arrest in this case. And I just contacted Zoom to try to get a statement about exactly what happened here. We'll let you know when I hear back. Back to you.
Now to the tragedy in that exclusive New York City neighborhood. Horribly shocking to hear for any parent or caretaker. A mother coming home to find 2 of her children stabbed, allegedly by their trusted nanny. And we want to warn you at home, this is an extremely disturbing story. ABC's John Muller is on the scene on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. John.
Amy, it is almost inconceivable, a parent's worst nightmare. A mom returns home from a swimming lesson with one child to her beautiful Manhattan apartment, finding her other 2 children stabbed to death. The nanny she trusted with their lives will soon be charged with taking them.
Investigators are trying to figure out this morning what could have made a New York family's caretaker turn on the children she was paid to protect.
Pull it up! Keep going!
Around 5:30 p.m. Thursday night, Marina Krim arrived home from a swimming lesson with her 3-year-old to find a gruesome scene.
Her other 2 children, 2-year-old Leo and 6-year-old Lucia Krim, stabbed to death.
Their nanny lying next to them in an apparent suicide attempt.
On the floor of the bathroom is a nanny who apparently had inflicted wounds on her throat.
Police escorted Krim from the scene after dark with her only surviving child, a sheet draped over their heads.
The children's father, an executive at CNBC,
was flying back from a business trip in San Francisco and was notified once he arrived in New York. The 50-year-old nanny survived the wounds to her throat, and this morning police say she's in critical but stable condition at a nearby hospital. Jocelyn Ortega had reportedly worked for the family for about a year. Before that, Marina Krim, a pediatrician, had been a stay-at-home mom. Ortega has no criminal record, and the New York Post is reporting that in the screening process, the
family even spent 9 days in the Dominican Republic
with her family before she was hired.
You know, at one time Kathleen Steele was on a reality TV show telling the world that this is what it was like to be pregnant with her first child at 55. That's actually what the show was about. Tonight she's charged in the death of her 13-day-old baby girl. That girl dying at the hands of her 6-year-old son. And the manner how is really tough to listen to. Evan Axelbank, North Reddington Beach, where the baby was killed today. Evan, we don't know what to make of this story.
Well, we don't. And Mark, you know, the mother didn't even go straight to the hospital when she found out
that her 13-year-old daughter had been beaten by her 6-year-old son.
And it happened right here in a van outside of this cell phone store.
Her 6-year-old beat his baby sister while the mother was in this store getting her cell phone fixed.
Kathleen Steele was so proud of being artificially inseminated and having kids later in life.
I was going to try no matter what.
That she went on a reality TV show on TLC.
We've been trying too long and lost too many, so you're sort of in denial.
6 years later, she'd had 3 babies.
2 of them with her dead husband's frozen sperm. Her third came July 26th, baby Kathleen.
Kathleen Steele was an inattentive parent, and Frankie and Philip were largely unsupervised and had very serious behavior issues.
Steele took her 3 kids, 6-year-old Frankie, 3-year-old Philip, and baby Kathleen to a cell phone store to fix a cracked screen. For 38 minutes, the children were left inside the minivan, locked in by themselves. The baby started crying, and Frankie took her out of the car seat
and began flipping her multiple times back and forth, dropping her on the floor, slamming her head against the ceiling, striking her in the face.
The baby's skull was cracked in multiple places. When Steele came back to the car, Frankie told her the baby was serious, but she continued on about her errands for several hours. Not until they got home did she ask about the baby. She finally called a neighbor, who called 911. The sheriff is left to wonder why a woman who seemed so set on having children seemed to care for them as little as possible. He had words for the doctor who artificially inseminated her.
You're not a medical professional if you're going to impregnate a 62-year-old woman.
He said there were signs that Steele had little grip on reality.
Steele even made statements in the last couple of days that she was not finished, as apparently there's more frozen sperm and she wanted to have yet another baby boy. Something is seriously messed up with that.
Asking us how they can help, how they can support us during this really horrible time.
These parents are enduring an almost unimaginable grief.
This is my first story.
Their 6-year-old daughter Lulu and 2-year-old son Leo were stabbed to death by the family nanny. Now the nanny is on trial and is pleading not guilty by reason of insanity.
This trial will be very hard for us and for a lot of you.
Prosecutors say the nanny felt, quote, resentment and rage.
Quote, resentment and rage.
The amount of work she was being asked to do and that her anger reached boiling point When the mother returned home, she discovered the bodies of her 2 children in the bathtub. This photo shows Mrs. Krim on the day of the slayings in 2012. Her face, a mask of grief.
The Krims lived in Manhattan's affluent Upper West Side. The defendant slit the throats of the children
to be sure that neither could scream out for help.
The nanny, 55-year-old Yoselin Ortega, stared straight ahead as the prosecutor described the awful moment Mrs. Krim found her slain children.
Marina Krim opened the bathroom door and saw the bloodied, lifeless bodies of her 6-year-old daughter and 2-year-old son stacked in the bathtub, their eyes open, covered in blood, staring ahead.
The prosecutor said the nanny waited to see the mom's reaction at finding her children's bodies, then plunged the knife into her own neck in a failed suicide bid. The grieving mother also described in horrific detail what she discovered on that dark day, saying
it was like a horror movie.
Thanks for walking with me, guys. Leave your comments below. Has Legion been unleashed?